Admittedly, my first impression of the Ultralight 2 was not very strong. It felt way too small for me, I wasn't really feeling the aesthetic, and I wasn't 100% sold on the infinity skins. I'm gonna tell you there were some really surprising results in this review. I'm gonna tell you that if you came here looking for a roast fest or a bloodbath review, this is not that. I spent more time testing this mouse than probably any mouse I've reviewed so far. I've rewritten major sections of this review, maybe 4 or 5 times over, and I think I'm ready. You ready? Let's go. Today's video is brought to you by Capsmiths, purveyors of fine artisan keycaps that are 3D printed and hand painted right here in the US. Compatible with all MX style stems with some insanely detailed sculpted designs and even models of some of your favorite MX switches. No group buys or pre-sales, these are ready, in stock, and shipping within 2 to 3 days. And right now you can use code BadSeedTech to save 15% off your order. Click the link in the description to check them out at capsmiths.com. Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching BadSeed Tech, and today we're taking a look at the Ultralight 2 Cape Town from Finalmouse. For transparency, they did say some crazy stuff to me on Twitter, but as you should know by now, it doesn't affect my review in any way. And they did apologize too, so we're good. So the people wanted a smaller Finalmouse, and for a whopping $120, that's exactly what they delivered. This is the smallest mouse in my collection at 114 millimeters long, 59 millimeters wide at the front and the rear, just over 53 millimeters wide at the grip with a height of 35 millimeters. Now these dimensions are flexible here because inside the box you'll not only get the mouse, but you'll get 3 different packs of infinity skins. These can be applied in one of 4 different areas and can affect the overall dimensions, but obviously impact the total weight of the mouse as you add them. More on that in a bit. Stock weight here is approximately 50 grams on my scale, given that there's a little bit of cable on there. This is the same skeletal design that we've seen Finalmouse continue to evolve since the OG Ultralight. And yes, as a lot of you pointed out, Thermaltake was technically the first company to put a few holes in a mouse, but arguably when you see a design like this, you think of Finalmouse. So it's the same 6-button FPS mouse we saw in the Air 58, just in a mini version. Mouse 1 and 2 clicks are the same, really light, crispy clicks, same flared trigger shape, triggers are split from the body. Really solid triggers, minimal wobble, minimal side play. DPI select button is notably tougher to actuate, which is good. No accidental triggers coming off the scroll, though the mouse is still lacking any sort of DPI LED. Speaking of that scroll wheel, if there's one complaint I feel like I see over and over again online, it's the durability of the scroll wheel on the previous offerings. For the record, I've never personally had an issue with the scroll wheel on any of my copies, but I know people who have. My Air 58 barely sees the light of day, lives in a box on a shelf because I've always been nervous about the possibility of that coating discoloring, and I need it to look pretty for the photos. But my OG Ultralight has lots of miles on it and still no issues. This wheel has a lot less side-to-side wobble than my Air 58 though, so hopefully this is an indication that they fixed this. I still really like this scroll wheel. It's very light tactile, and that's right up my alley. Gone is the Ninja Haiku scroll from the Air 58, and instead we've got this thin rubber coating with a 3-dot pattern and kind of like a Lugs Birdman edition brown. Side buttons feel very similar to the Air 58 as well. Smaller, of course, to scale down with the frame size. Same pre-travel we've seen, but the clicks are so crispy that they never feel mushy for me during use. And the coating, well, there is no coating this time around. This is the natural color of the plastic pellets they use to melt and pour these molds. This is kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone thing because there's zero risk of your coating discoloring if there is no coating, and in theory should provide a better surface for the skins to adhere to. Potential downside is that it's slicker than previous versions, but it's really not an issue in use, especially if you're using the infinity skins. The other downside is that in terms of color matching it with your setup, you're gonna basically be limited to a carbon key set, at least until Noctua starts making keycaps. It's also not lost on me that dyeing these infinity skins a bold color to match up with the brightly colored mouse shell might be a difficult and costly process, so this is probably an easier way for them to reach the finish line. Cable here is like a burnt orange, brown. This is a tighter sheathing than we saw in the Air 58, still very flexible, still not as flexible as a true paracord. Kind of tough to gauge because this mouse is so light. The cable exit coming off the mouse is elevated, but doesn't really have like an upward angle like we've seen on some other stuff recently. Nonetheless, I don't feel like you're gonna need a bungee, and in spite of the light weight of the mouse, this cable never gets in the way, never restricts movement at all. Sensor here is a 3360, no need to dwell on this, you should already know what this is. It's a great sensor. You get 4 DPI steps in 400, 800, 1600, and 3200. Polling rate on this mouse is still 500 Hertz. I don't know why people take issue with this. That translates translates to this mouse reporting to the computer every 2 milliseconds. I play with different mice all the time. I test different mice all the time. I can never feel or tell the difference. It's not like I grab a mouse and go, ugh, it's only 500 hertz. Never happens for me. This mouse doesn't ship with software, but there is a certain third-party software you can use at your own risk. I tested it to dial in some more specific DPI levels. It works great. The feet have been updated here. They're white in color. Can't tell you what kind of material they are. On the Amp 500 at least, they glide better than the stock feet on the Air 58. Ranked top to bottom for me, you got Hyperglides, then the Cape Town, then the Air 58 or the OG Ultralight. And like all Finalmouse offerings, you're not gonna find any RGB in here anywhere. All right. Let's talk infinity skins. Now, these aren't what I think of when I think of foam. These are reminiscent of like the midsole on like an Ultra Boost shoe, I guess. They're definitely more durable and resilient than I thought they would be. Like, they're tough and they don't stain. And I imagine if they ever did over time, you could probably use some shoe cleaner to freshen them up. You get 3 sets of these with 4 parts each, one for each side, one palm, a rear, and one top. The tops are all the same, 1 millimeter. The sides and the palm differ at 1.2, 2, and 2.5 millimeter. And you can stack these as needed to customize the mouse to what feels right for you by increasing the dimensions. Let's frame up this next section by saying that my hands are 20.5 centimeters top to bottom and 10.5 centimeters across, a little larger than usual. I normally use a palm grip, but I've been trying to get away from that and move into a fingertip grip. With this mouse being smaller than any other mouse I own, my first instinct was to not dwell too much on the gameplay or performance aspect of this mouse because it just wasn't a good fit for me and I didn't think I was going to play my best, obviously. But when I started doing the math on these infinity skins, I realized that you could get certain measurements to be very similar to the Air 58 and in some cases, like grip width, even exceed that of the Air 58. So these have 3M adhesive backing. They are reusable. Save this backing piece in case you need to pack these back up or in case you want to swap them out. I'm not worried about the durability of the foam itself, but I am a little skeptical of how the adhesive will hold up over time if you're removing these and changing them out a lot. I admire the innovation here, but there's still some stuff I don't like about this system. They do stick on the mouse, but they're never going to be perfect. So if you have even slight OCD-like tendencies, these will likely drive you a little bit crazy. I went for the 2.5 millimeter side pieces straight away as I thought adding 5 millimeters to the already 53 millimeter wide grip would be the move for my hand size. They stuck on the mouse and they fit pretty well. The sides of the mouse are curved though, so with the thicker pieces, the top's pulled away after a few minutes as the skin wants to be straight up and down instead of hugging the curves of this mouse. I found myself working this top edge back in place all the time and it went back every time. This system for me takes away from the side buttons a bit. The 1.2 millimeter skin sits flush with the top of the buttons. This is the least defensive of the bunch. The 2.0 and 2.5 millimeter protrude further than the buttons, so instead of rocking your thumb up to trigger the buttons, you have to move up and in, and it just feels weird. You can avoid this by using skins only on the outside edge of the mouse. Just skip the inside edge altogether as these skins are designed to be stacked. My favorite was to use all 3 on the outside and then a 1.2 millimeter on the inside. And you can't do that without any fear of the adhesive coming off on the skin underneath, but I definitely had some issues with the adhesive from the skins remaining on the bare mouse body after I removed them. There's no need for any chemicals to get this adhesive off. You can just take your thumb and just like rub it off. I still don't personally feel the aesthetic when these skins are on. I'm a sucker for design and the bare Finalmouse design has great lines, great curves, and for me, these take away from that. But these are more about performance and customizing the size and the fit of this mouse than they are about looks. So let's talk about performance. I tested on the Amp 500 only, and I kept that as a control the whole time because as you're about to see, I had a lot of variables in testing. And some seriously interesting stuff happened. So much so that now would be a good time for me to tell you that I don't have any kind of relationship with Finalmouse. I don't get any kind of free product. I don't have an affiliate or a kickback deal of any sort. When it comes to Finalmouse, I'm a customer, same as you. My main mouse is a Davina S1 with paracord and hyperglides. As I said, outside of the review I did on the Air 58, I really haven't spent a lot of time with that mouse. I had it out for size comparison on this video, and after grinding out tile frenzy runs with the Cape Town in stock form and Kovacs, and falling short of my personal best that I set with the S1, I decided to try the Air 58. And I beat my personal record, a record that has stood for some time. And then I beat it again. And then I went back to the Cape Town and I beat my S1 performance, but I still fell short of the Air 58. So I started adding skins. Then I do a few runs. Adding a skin, doing a few more runs, adding another skin, bringing the overall feel of the Cape Town closer to the Air 58 each time. I grinded these runs for hours, and this was my final form of the Cape Town. Not quite a Kodiak thick boy, but not far off actually. It weighs 62 grams on my scale, and the Air 58 weighs 62 grams on my scale. Time and time again, I just could not beat the Air 58 with the Cape Town. I came really close, but I couldn't beat it. With the Air 58, I found myself playing consistently around 10% better than with the S1 and about 3 to 4% consistently better than the Cape Town. So what does all that mean? Well, first, my personal record I set with the S1 is higher than any other mouse I've tested so far, any other mouse I own. That means I played significantly better not only with the Air 58, but also with the Ultralight 2, a mouse that just based on size, I absolutely thought was not going to work for me. Going back to the S1 at 84 grams after spending a couple days on lightweight mice really hurt my scores with the S1, and it felt notably heavier in hand. This also meant that when I went back and tested the Model O, I fared a lot better with it now than I had initially when I did that review. So now this makes my top 3 performers the Air 58, the Model O, and the Ultralight 2, with the Model O being the least comfortable for me to use and the Air 58 being the most comfortable. What bothered me here though is why? Why, if I could make the dimensions on the Ultralight 2 similar to the Air 58, why could I not hit those same high scores that I was hitting with the Air 58? Ultimately, I think it comes down to length. That's the one dimension that you can't duplicate. And even though I'm trying to transition to a fingertip grip, subconsciously when I'm in the moment, I play my best when my inside knuckles are resting on the top of the mouse and I have a little bit of support for the middle of my palm. So it all comes down to hand size. So pick a mouse that's right for your hand size. At $120 for a wired mouse, you have plenty of options out there. For me, with my larger hand size, it meant essentially making a mouse with the Ultralight 2 that was equal in weight to the Air 58 anyway. Those of you with medium to small hands will probably find a really good mouse here with an aspect of custom fit. For low DPI arm aimers, thinking the lightweight mouse thing is just a trend or a meme is just being misinformed. It flat out makes me a better player. That's a bold statement, but those Kovacs numbers don't lie. So that's it for the mouse. Now I know there are people that want to see me come with torches and pitchforks for Finalmouse, but I don't think it's a good look. Again, as a customer, here's my take. No Finalmouse I own or have ever tested has broken. I've never had to contact their customer service, so I can't speak on it. Yes, I'm aware that other people have had quality control concerns. As far as their marketing goes, I'm a fan. I think it's brilliant because you either buy into it and get behind it, or far more likely, you think it's so bananas, so outlandish, the sheer audacity of some of these tweets makes you comment on them, retweet them, talk about them in forums and in discords, and that, like it or not, is the fundamental goal of marketing. As for shipping times, logistics, being transparent with their customers, these are areas where Finalmouse needs to improve. I'm not going to let them off the hook for that. They make moves that erode the customer's confidence and trust in the brand, and that's a bad look. I mean, case in point, at the time you're watching this video, as far as I know, my order still has not shipped. I got this copy from a reseller for the purposes of making this video. As far as the product itself goes, I like the product. What I would like to see them do really is bring back the white, the Phantom, and the Sunset top and mate them with the Air 58 lower and have them available for purchase all the time. No links on this one, obviously. Any questions about the mouse itself, feel free to hit me in the comments or drop by the Discord. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, stay up.